At 2:47 p.m. on August 16, 1934, all work on Hoover Dam froze as a 42-ton bulldozer plunged through fresh concrete, trapping a machine, a man's decision, and a crisis beneath millions of gallons of water. Chief Engineer Frank Crowe had just minutes to choose: destroy a $1 million column or bury the evidence forever. His call held for 90 years, but did it save the dam or gamble with its fate? This is what really happened when an unstoppable build met the unthinkable mistake. A single mistake sent 84,000 pounds of steel crashing through Hoover Dam's order. The Caterpillar D8 bulldozer lurched forward, its left track giving way as the ground beneath it turned to liquid. Oliver Cowan, perched behind the controls, felt the machine tilt, a slow, impossible angle, before instinct took over. He jumped clear, boots scraping wet concrete. The bulldozer didn't stop. Its blade sliced through the half-set surface, digging in like a prow cutting river ice. For a moment, the entire machine balanced on its nose, rear tracks hanging in the air. Then gravity finished what human error had started. The D8 slid downward, cab first, disappearing into the gray mix. The diesel engine sputtered, drowned, and a trail of bubbles marked its grave. Work crews froze in the August heat, shovels and wheelbarrows abandoned mid-stride. The noise of the site, hammers, winches, shouted orders, fell away. For the first time in 3 years of round-the-clock construction, silence ruled the canyon. No one spoke. No one moved. A 42-ton machine had vanished beneath their feet, swallowed by concrete that should have been strong enough to hold it. The air shimmered at 119 degrees, but the sense of shock was colder than stone. In those moments, the dam's relentless pace stopped dead, and every man on the site stared at the spot where the bulldozer had gone under, wondering how the unbreakable had just broken. Concrete at Hoover Dam was never meant to be an afterthought. Every column followed a strict curing protocol, a rule born from the chemistry of cement itself. Portland cement doesn't simply dry out, it undergoes a reaction called hydration. As water meets the powdered cement, crystals begin to grow, binding sand and rock into a single mass. This process generates heat, especially in the massive 8-foot lifts used in the dam's core. Cooling pipes embedded in each block carried chilled water, trying to keep temperatures from spiking and causing cracks. For heavy equipment, there was an unwritten minimum: 6 hours. That window allowed the surface to harden into a crust, strong enough to hold a man, sometimes even a truck. But beneath, the interior remained a thick chemical stew, soft, shifting, and dangerously weak. Early-age concrete could reach only a fraction of its final strength in those first hours, sometimes less than 1,000 pounds per square inch, far below the 3,000 or more needed to bear real weight. In column 47, the timeline broke down. The D8 was sent across before the 6-hour mark. The crust fooled the eye, but not the laws of chemistry. Hydration was still in its earliest phase, the crystals barely forming, the heat of reaction building inside. When the bulldozer rolled on, the surface gave way, and the machine met nothing but wet, unfinished stone. Extraction was no longer just a mechanical problem. It was a race against an ongoing chemical transformation. Every minute that passed, the concrete set a little more, locking the steel deeper into place. Concrete alone could not tame the forces inside Hoover Dam. Every block poured into the canyon walls carried its own hidden risk: heat. As cement and water combined, the chemical reaction released a surge of energy, raising temperatures deep within the massive columns. Left unchecked, that heat could crack the dam from the inside out. The answer came in the form of a network of cooling pipes, thin coiled veins running through the heart of each block. Chilled water, kept at 40 degrees Fahrenheit, pulsed through these lines day and night, drawing out the heat and slowing the curing process to a controlled pace. This system was not borrowed from textbooks. It was invented on site, under the watch of Frank Crowe. Crowe was 52 years old when he took command of the project, already a legend among dam builders. He had shaped the Titan, Arrow Rock, and Deadwood dams, always pushing for faster, safer, smarter ways to move earth and pour concrete. At Hoover, his reputation was built on more than speed. Crowe understood that mass concrete was alive in its first days, growing, shifting, and dangerous if left to its own devices. He insisted on careful monitoring, relentless testing, and innovations like the cooling pipes, which became the backbone of the dam's strength. When chaos struck at column 47, Crowe's presence was more than managerial. He was the rare engineer who could read both the numbers and the material itself, able to weigh the risks of chemistry against the realities of construction. In moments where hesitation meant disaster, it was Crowe's command of both science and scale that would decide what happened next. Arguments erupted along the rim of column 47 before the last of the concrete even settled. Bureau inspectors demanded the bulldozer be dug out, no exceptions, no improvisation. Federal specifications gave them little room to maneuver. A 42-ton steel machine embedded in the dam's core had never been accounted for in any blueprint. Their careers hung on the letter of the code. 6 companies' foremen, caught between the clock and the ledger, did their own math. Demolishing the column would mean 3 weeks lost, at least $200,000 spent, and a daily penalty of $3,000 for every day the project slipped behind. Equipment would have to be brought in to jackhammer and haul away over 1,000 cubic yards of half-set concrete, an operation with no guarantee of success and every chance of triggering more delays if the surrounding structure was damaged. Union stewards pressed for written assurances. If the dam ever failed at column 47, their men would not be blamed. They wanted signatures, not just promises, that the risk fell on management, not on the workers pouring the next lift. Frank Crowe listened, arms folded, eyes fixed on the numbers. The alternative, leaving the bulldozer where it lay, encasing it with modified grout, came in at $41,000 and kept the schedule on track. The difference, $159,000 saved and 18 days preserved, but the real price was trust. Crowe weighed every shout and protest against the ticking of the penalty clock. Then, without raising his voice, he issued the order, "Cover it, bury it, build over it." The debate ended, action began. Crowe's order sent the concrete crew into motion before the last arguments had faded. Instead of the standard aggregate mix, workers prepared a modified grout, higher cement content, finer sand, and enough water to create a thick, flowing slurry. This wasn't a routine pour. Every batch was mixed to fill the bulldozer's every cavity, from the hollow engine block to the tightest seams in the cab. They pumped 340 additional cubic yards of this grout into column 47, far more than the original plan called for. The goal was simple: leave no air pockets, no hidden voids, nothing that could weaken the mass or allow water to seep in decades later. Pouring continued through the afternoon and into the night, each layer rising 8 feet at a time. The process demanded focus, no shortcuts, no missed corners. The modified grout flowed around the D-80's steel, rubber, and glass, encasing the machine in a single, continuous envelope. By 9:15 p.m., the surface of column 47 looked no different than any other, the evidence buried and the column ready for the next lift by morning. Crowe didn't leave the outcome to guesswork. Core samples were drilled through the heart of the column, 3-inch cylinders at depths of 8, 12, and 16 feet. Lab results showed solid, well-bonded concrete with no significant voids or cracks. To add an extra margin of safety, Crowe ordered the next 3 lifts above column 47 to be poured at 3,500 psi, a full 500 psi above the original design. The dam's inner core now held a machine-size secret, but the numbers confirmed what Crowe had calculated. The structure was sound, the crisis contained. 90 years later, column 47 still holds firm, an unplanned experiment sealed deep inside America's most iconic dam. In an age demanding instant answers, Crowe's split-second gamble reminds us, not every solution looks perfect, but some risks set in concrete stand the test of time. What risks would you take?